You just landed in the one place where the numbers don't lie. Most financial advice is written for the system, not for you. I'm Victor, and this is the Money Script. You did it. You broke six figures. You did everything they told you. Degree, career, promotions, 180, a year household income. And somehow, it still feels tight. The world calls you successful. Six-figure earner. Dual income household. On paper, you won. But your bank account doesn't feel like a winner. Your calendar definitely doesn't feel like a winner. And your nervous system? It feels like it's paying a price your paycheck never shows. This episode is about that gap. The gap between how your income looks from the outside and how it feels on the inside. Because there's a script running underneath six-figure households, and it's quietly stealing almost everything you earn. Especially if your brain was never built for constant pressure and social comparison in the first place. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why so many high earners feel broke, why hitting six figures doesn't move the needle like you were promised, and what actually has to change if you want that 180 to behave like real money. Last episode, we talked about deployment capital, where the second income goes. Today we're going one level deeper, because it doesn't matter where you deploy if you have nothing left to deploy. I'm Victor. This is the Money Script. Let's get into it. $180,000 a year sounds like a lot of money. But here's what nobody tells you. There is a middle zone in the income ladder where the system quietly punishes you for climbing. You don't qualify for help anymore, but you don't feel the upside yet either. That's the donut hole. Too rich for subsidies. Too poor to feel secure. On paper, you're upper middle class. In reality, every new dollar is getting eaten. And the higher you climb, the more invisible pressure you carry in your head. Decisions, expectations, comparisons, none of which show up in a spreadsheet. Let's run the tape. Household earns 180. First, the government takes its cut. Federal, state, payroll taxes. Depending on where you live, 30 to 40% of your gross disappears before you even touch it. Then come the benefit cliffs. Make just a bit too much, and you lose health insurance subsidies, childcare credits, education tax breaks. The marginal tax rate on your next dollar of income can quietly jump above 50% once you factor in what you lose. So you're in this bizarre place where the raise hits your pay slip, but almost half of it evaporates on the way to your account. And by the time it arrives, your fixed costs are already lined up to absorb it. Bigger mortgage, because at your level, you should live in that neighborhood. Higher childcare because both of you work full-time. Commuting, professional image, subscriptions that match your peer group. The system doesn't just tax your income, it taxes your identity. This is why so many high earners feel like they're running in place. It's not because you're bad with money. It's because the middle of the income ladder is structurally hostile to building margin. The definition of Henry, high earner, not rich yet, is exactly this. You make more than most of the country, but your balance sheet and your nervous system don't match the income level on your LinkedIn. So when you say, we make 180 and it still feels tight, you're not crazy. You're describing a feature of the system, not a bug in your personality. The lie is that crossing six figures automatically makes you rich. The reality is that for most households, six figures is still just a more expensive version of being stuck, unless you deliberately break the script. The system may be hostile, but it still needs your cooperation. The six-figure lie only works if you agree to play the status game on autopilot. And that brings us to the real tax nobody talks about. Not the IRS, not the state. The one you impose on yourself. The conformity tax. This next section might make you uncomfortable. Good. That means it's working. The conformity tax is what you pay to look like you belong at your income level. It's not on your tax return. It's on your credit card statement. The right neighborhood, the right car, the right school for the kids, the right restaurants, the right clothes for the job. None of these are decisions you made freely. They're decisions your income bracket made for you. And if you're already used to masking, pretending to be the right kind of person at work, in social settings. That pressure doesn't stop with your personality. It spills straight into your spending. Here's how it works. You get promoted. Your peer group shifts. Suddenly your colleagues send their kids to private school, drive new SUVs, and eat at different restaurants. And something in your brain says, I need to keep up. Not because you're greedy, because humans are wired to match their reference group. Behavioral economists call this social comparison bias. You don't compare yourself to everyone. You compare yourself to the people slightly above you, and their lifestyle becomes your new floor, not your ceiling. For some of you, it's even deeper than status. You're not just keeping up with your peers. You're trying to prove you belong there at all. That's when money stops being a tool and becomes a costume. Let's put a number on it. A typical 180 household in a high-cost area easily spends $2,000 a month on conformity. That's the gap between what you need and what your bracket expects. The nicer car lease instead of the reliable used car. The bigger house with the extra bedroom nobody uses. The premium daycare because the other parents would notice. $2,000 a month. $24,000 a year. Over a decade, that's $250,000 spent on signaling, not on building. Now think about that in deployment terms. Remember the last episode? $1,500 a month deployed into mortgage paydown cut 30 years to 11. $2,000 a month deployed into an index fund at 8% average return. That's over $360,000 in 10 years. That's the real cost of the conformity tax. It's not just the money you spent. It's the money you didn't build. The wealth that never existed because you were too busy looking wealthy. Stop. I want you to do something right now. Pull up your bank statement from last month. How much did you spend to look successful versus to actually be successful? Be honest. The gap is the conformity tax. And here's the trap within the trap. The conformity tax feels invisible because everyone around you is paying it too. When everyone overspends, overspending feels normal. When everyone is broke at 180, being broke at 180 feels normal. The former CEO of an investment firm in New York said it best. He called it golden handcuffs. The watch, the suit, the shoes. None of it was optional once you reached a certain level. It was membership dues for a club that kept him broke. He eventually walked away from the title, the salary, and the signaling. Not because he was failing, because he realized the conformity tax was consuming everything he earned. He was rich on paper and trapped in practice. So let's be clear about what the six-figure lie actually is. It's not that six figures doesn't matter. It's that six figures without a script is just a bigger trap with nicer furniture. The income went up. The spending went up. The anxiety stayed the same. And 15 years from now, you look back and realize you earned $2 million and you have almost nothing to show for it, unless you change the script. And that's exactly what we're about to do. The single most powerful financial decision a Henry household can make is this: refuse to act your wage. That means deliberately living below your income level. Not because you have to, because you choose to. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only number that matters. And if your brain runs hot, that gap has to be protected by systems, not by you waking up every day and trying to make the right choice again. Here's the target. Live on 50% of your take-home. At 180 gross, your take-home is roughly $11,250 a month. 50% means living on $5,600. Is that aggressive? Yes. Is it possible? Also, yes. Because remember, the average American household lives on less than that. You're not asking yourself to be poor. You're asking yourself to stop pretending you're richer than you are. The other 50%, $5,600 a month, gets deployed. Not spent. Not saved in a zero interest account. Deployed. Into things that compound. If you watched the last episode, you already know the deployment framework. Mortgage paydown. Index investment. Asymmetric bets. The sequence matters. But the 50% rule is what makes the sequence possible in the first place. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Victor, we can't live on $5,600. We have a mortgage. We have kids. We have real expenses. And you're right. You can't do it tomorrow, but you can start moving toward it, because the 50% rule isn't a switch. It's a direction. Every raise, every bonus, every side income that comes in, you don't upgrade your lifestyle. You upgrade your deployment. That's the rule. And that's how Henrys become wealthy, not just high earning. Let's run the math on what happens when a 180 household deploys 50% for 10 years. $5,600 a month into a mix of mortgage paydown and index investing. Split it. $3,000 toward mortgage paydown, $2,600 toward index. The mortgage? Paid off in under 10 years on a standard $400,000 loan. The index portfolio at 8% average, over $450,000. Combined, you've eliminated your biggest monthly expense and built a $500,000 portfolio. Your household now has zero mortgage payment and $450,000 in investments in 10 years on the same salary. Now compare that to the Henry, who spent 100% and deployed zero. Same salary, same 10 years. But one household has freedom, the other has furniture. Let that sit for a second. Same job, same salary, same decade, completely different outcome. The only variable was the script. And here's the kicker. Once your mortgage is gone, that $3,000 a month you were using for paydown now joins your deployment. Year 11 onwards, you're deploying $8,600 a month. The compounding accelerates. The math gets absurd. This is what a savings rate of 50% does at a high income. It doesn't just build wealth, it compresses time. A 50% savings rate gets you to financial independence in roughly 17 years. Compare that to the standard 15% savings rate most financial advisors recommend. That takes 51 years. You retire when you're 80. The 50% rule isn't extreme. The default is extreme. So the prescription is simple, not easy. Simple. Refuse to act your wage. Live on half. Deploy the rest. For some people, that gap lives in broad index funds. For others, part of it lives in Bitcoin, not as a casino, but as a place where money sits outside the consumption script and quietly survives inflation. And then you let the math do what it does. I want to give you something practical before we close. A 5-step conformity tax audit you can run on your household this week. Step 1. Pull up 3 months of bank and credit card statements. Every transaction, no hiding. Step 2. Categorize every expense into 2 columns. Column A, I need this to live. Column B, I need this to look like I live at this level. Be ruthlessly honest. Groceries, column A, the organic high-end grocery store when the regular one is fine. The premium above regular goes into column B. Car payment on a reliable vehicle, column A. The premium you pay for the badge on the hood, column B. Step 3. Total up. Column B. That's your monthly conformity tax. For most 180 households, this number will be somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000 a month. Let that number sink in. That's not what the government took. That's not inflation. That's what you voluntarily handed over to look like you belong. And it's probably more than your retirement contribution. Step 4. Pick 3 items from column B that you can eliminate or downgrade this month. Not all of them. 3. Start small. Build momentum. Maybe it's the car lease. Maybe it's the premium gym you go to twice a month. Maybe it's the subscription boxes. Whatever it is, redirect that money into deployment. That's it. That's the move. Step 5. Automate the redirect. Set up an automatic transfer the day after payday, before your brain gets a chance to spend it, before the conformity tax kicks in. If you watch the deployment window episode, you have 48 hours. Lock it in. Automation is the key, because willpower runs out, discipline runs out, but an automatic transfer on the first of every month, that runs forever. That's how you build a system, not a resolution. So let me give you the full picture one more time. The 5 steps. 1. Pull 3 months of statements. 2. Split every expense into need versus signal. 3. Total the signal column. That's your conformity tags. 4. Cut 3 items and redirect to deployment. 5. Automate the transfer within 48 hours of your next payday. If you do this audit honestly, you'll find money you didn't know you had. Not because you weren't earning it, because the conformity tax was eating it before you could see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every purchase will pass through a new filter. Am I buying this because I need it or because my bracket expects it? That filter alone is worth more than any raise. The 6-figure lie is that earning more solves the problem. It doesn't. Having a script solves the problem, and now you have one. Your assignment this week: run the conformity tax audit. 3 months, 2 columns, 1 number, and then decide what to do with it. And if you're someone whose brain already feels overloaded by decisions, I want you to notice one more thing. Which expenses are really about keeping your nervous system calm, and which are just keeping up appearances? In the next episodes, we'll talk about how to redesign that gap for different minds, with slower money, fewer decisions, and systems that don't need a perfect brain to work. The 6-figure lie isn't your fault, but staying in it is your choice. If you found this valuable and want more content like this, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Victor. This is the Money Script. See you next episode.